Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, you who have been in a bubble, you who are poised for transformation. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey.
And we now invite you to rise as you are willing and able and join us in singing our opening hymn, Sing Out Praises. So good morning, y'all. Is it not a wet and wet and wet morning today? I don't know what I was expecting when I woke up, but I was not expecting this much water. 5.5 years in, and I'm still not used to Louisiana rain, right? So I wanted to welcome all of you who braved the rain to come in person, to welcome those of you who have been here many times, or those who are visiting for the first time, and also a very warm welcome to all of those who are joining us online. It is such a blessing to still have the option to stream for mornings like this when maybe getting out on the roads is not everything we want to do. I wanted to, good morning, my name is Kathy Smith. Yeah, I forgot that part. Good morning, my name is Kathy Smith. It is my honor and privilege to be the Director of Family Ministries for this, your gathered congregation. On the chancel this morning with me is the Reverend Nathan Ryan, our senior minister, Stiles Thompson, our worship associate, Lee Hartman, our music director, Trey Davis, our choir director, is here with us with the choir, and Roman Garcia is in the sound booth. Thank you so much today. I just had a couple of pieces of information to share with you. One is we had a couple of we're consolidating a little bit this morning for middle hour. Children will go back to their classes, but they will be all together, and adults will be all together in Fellowship Hall. If you'd like to talk more about the topic of today's sermon, the Article 2 Commission and proposed changes, that's what we'll be talking about. I also had a couple of exciting things to make sure you put on your calendar. One is March the 12th. Michael Dowd is coming to talk to us. He is a well-known Unitarian Universalist speaker, and he is going to inspire us with what, Nathan? He's going to talk to us. He is a person who believes deeply in the sacred story of science and the sacred story of how the earth is interconnected and we are a part of it. I'm looking forward to hearing what else he has to share with us. And then on April the 1st, we have, after a couple of years away, please put on your calendar that we have the church's auction coming up. And what a wonderful day to do it on April 1st, April Fool's Day. So again, welcome. We are so glad that you are here with us this morning. We wanted to remind you that we have cards out in the dry part of the outside part, cards for you to sign, several just thinking of you cards, a card for Myrtle David, who was recently hospitalized for COVID. And we also have a stone to place this morning, if someone would place a stone. So we have actually wonderful news. One of our families has welcomed a new child into the world. We place a stone for Nathaniel Robin, who was born to Case Duckworth and Rachel Stevens on January the 25th. Nathan, would you come forward and at this point, before we do the stones, would you lead us in a prayer?
Sure.
Thank you.
I invite you all into a moment of prayer and reflection. The God that we know when we see kindness and love and hope, mystery named and unnamed, whatever that is that holds us together. Be with us on this day and hold all those who are gathered, who are worried every time it rains. Hold all those who long for justice. Hold the family of Tyree Nichols. Hold our justice system so that it can do what it was designed to do. And help us to acknowledge that if white officers had done something similar, it would have taken much longer for accountability to be had. Help us to hold all who are right now gathered together in worship all over this country and this world, yearning to understand what we are experiencing, yearning to make this world better, yearning to know that they are okay. Help us to build a more beautiful, more loving, more considerate world. Amen. So I invite those who wish to come forward either along the west or the east wall. Online, type it right into the chat. Take a stone, let it represent whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind. Place it in the chalice bowl. We now invite those who wish to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is a symbol of the power of love.
So the lesson this morning comes from the Reverend Jamie Dingus. Thank you. We had some conversation yesterday at rehearsal about where the mic should be. So let me know if, like this, if you need me to talk louder, and I trust Roman will do magic if. And so the lesson this morning comes to us from the Reverend Jamie Dingus. They serve as the settled minister in Huntsville, Alabama, but they also grew up Unitarian Universalist. And their mom is a Unitarian Universalist religious educator. Reverend Jamie writes, thinking about the Article 2 Commission, if you'll remember, there's some changes that might be coming up in the Unitarian Universalist Association, having to do with some of the language we use. And Reverend Jamie writes, when they were thinking about change, they remembered that they had seen a lot of technological change over and over again in their lifetime. Maybe y'all might have noticed a small amount of tech change as well. So, they write, they decided to go on an archaeological dig in the church archives. And they found some really cool fossils, technology fossils. Now, I don't have access to Reverend Jamie's technology fossils, but I found some pictures that I thought I would share with you. And let me tell you, they are some excellent fossils. So let's see if you can help me name them. Put them up on the screen. This is rotary phone and push button phone and the infamous flip phone. The type of technology changed, but something important stayed the same. What stayed the same from the rotary to the push button to the flip phone? Connection and communication. People wanted to be able to talk to people at a distance. Yes, exactly. Next. These are. And these are. And this is. This is my nemesis. Anyone who works with me knows how much I dearly love cloud storage of documents. So, floppy disks, thumb drives, online cloud storage. The technology changed, but something important stayed the same. What stayed the same? People wanted to. People wanted to save their information and get to it later. Next. VHS. I'm so glad y'all remembered that. These are DVDs. Mm-hmm. Streaming. Yeah. No need to name the evil empire, just streaming. So we had VHS, then DVDs, then streaming. Technology changed, but what stayed the same? Mm-hmm. People could watch movies that they wanted to watch. And last one. A cassette tape. No pencil, but a cassette tape. And a CD. An iPod, an iPhone, a cell phone. Mm-hmm. Technology changed. What stayed the same? Mm-hmm. Listening to music. People could listen to music. And so what is most important stays the same, but the way we do it has changed an awful lot. And in Unitarian Universalism, many of us have been using what we call the 7 principles as our technology for our faith since 1985. I don't know if y'all feel this, but 1985 was a long time ago. 1985 is when we made the switch from cassettes to CDs. And now we have a wonderful team of leaders that has come up with a new technology for our faith. It uses 7 new words. Okay, I'll speak louder. It uses 7 new words. Not new words, but put in a different way. Pluralism, interdependence, equity, transformation, justice, and generosity, and right in the center of all of that is love. And now it's up to us to figure out if this new technology, these new ways of articulating our values, will be the next new way that we can live out our Unitarian Universalist faith. And there's a lot to think about. We know change is hard. It can be uncomfortable, and just like any time you learn new technology, it can take a little while to adjust. But we also know that if we commit to move forward together, we can change and change and change again and again, and what we love most will stay the same.
In a house which becomes a home, one hands down and another takes up the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds. Love, like a carefully loaded ship, crosses the gulf between generations. Therefore, we do not neglect the ceremonies of our passage, when we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child, when we depart and when we return, when we plant and when we harvest. Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand them their heritage. If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, they will lose all of us that is wordless and full of wonder. Let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the meanings of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation.
Please rise as you are willing and able, and join us in singing the next hymn, Shall We Gather?
Worship ever of the
So as I start, I just want to acknowledge something. Today's a hard day, y'all, as so many Sunday mornings are in churches across America in current times. Today's a hard Sunday. And I thought about changing what I was saying to reflect that and couldn't. Well, I wanted to acknowledge how hard today can be and to say I asked Reverend Nathan to lead us in prayer to acknowledge those things. I also want you to know if today's a hard day for you, if there is something in the service you can hold on to, wonderful. If there is something in this space that you need, I hope that is so. And if you need to reach out, please know that Reverend Nathan, Reverend Chris, and I are always available to talk if you need. And so the topic today, one of the fascinating conversations that I've been following online has been among Unitarian Universalists who were raised Unitarian Universalists before 1985. That is to say, before the current iteration of our Unitarian Universalist bylaws was adopted, which included a set of 7 principles and 5 sources, now 6, it was changed in 1995. And even more interesting is the conversations that I'm listening to among people who were raised before it was you. That is, people who were raised or were living Universalist or Unitarian before the merger in 1961. And part of why that is fascinating to me is, okay, let's face it, I am a little bit of a religious geek. I love stories. I love theology. I love history. They are fascinating, and how people hold on to and transform their stories over time is also really fascinating. And among the many stories about Unitarian Universalism are those stories of how people hold their stories of formation as Unitarian Universalists whenever they came into our faith, and how people have transformed them and have been transformed by them. So for instance, the reading we just heard, From Generation to Generation, is one that when I came into Unitarian Universalism, I fell in love with. I've used it in coming-of-age services. I have used it in child dedications. I fell in love with it when I first sat down and read through the hymnal. Y'all read through hymnals when you sit down in a new congregation, right? I'm not the only one? Oh, good. I'm liking that the choir is here because I'm seeing nods. You can tell a lot about a people, not only by what they laugh at, but by what they choose to sing. And so I read through the hymnal and I found this reading and I felt so welcomed in, it resonated. Another thread in this service is the song that we just sang, Shall We Gather at the River, which I've sung as a Unitarian Universalist as an adult, but has roots that go way, way back to when I was Violet's age, or Theodore's age, or Lauren's age. Not Lauren, I'm sorry, or Viola's age. I was that old when I started absorbing my family's religion. And all of those things sort of wrap into who I am now as a mature Unitarian Universalist, somewhat mature. By the way, I wanted to share with y'all, there's a story about Shall We Gather at the River, how it wound up in our teal hymnal. It was in our hymnals for years and years and years, pre-merger and post-merger, and in the 1985 hymnal, the Singing the Living Tradition, the gray one, they took it out. And there was such an uproar and such a pushback that when they wrote the teal hymnal, Singing the Journey, the commission put it back in. Because nostalgia and roots and memories, they are powerful things. I also have to say that because we're a covenantal faith and because we're a faith that believes in giving people a voice, yes, when we write a hymnal, we gather together a group of people to do that work collaboratively with each other, to pull in as many Unitarian Universalists as possible to include. I will also acknowledge that nobody ever thinks it's enough people, but we try, and we use that process in most of our business of the denomination, just as we have for this current piece. And the last 2 years, and for the next 2 years at least, we will talk about how we might change the covenant, how we might change the language of the covenant in our bylaws, how we might move from 7 principles and 6 sources to reflect specific language about how we live into our shared values. I warned you I was a religious geek, right? Sorry. So one of the other things that you might not know is that I do denominational politics for fun, mostly for fun. And so I was one of the people who volunteered to facilitate some online conversations with people, Unitarian Universalists, lay people, and religious leaders alike across our country to talk about these proposed changes. And one of the things that I heard a lot was that many people have a longing for the Unitarian Universalism as it existed when they came into the faith, whether it was as a child or as an adult, whether it was through a particular curriculum or the language that they learned as our principles. Nostalgia can be a really powerful thing. It's like the glue that concretes things into place, like the mosaic glue that we kind of pour around the pieces of things when we lay a mosaic. The glue moves things around a little bit, places things on top of other things, creates something that is the same but not quite the same as we remember it. And I wonder, for you, what are some of the mosaic pieces you would put into place in this artwork around your understanding of church, your understanding of religion, that which binds us together, your understanding of Unitarian Universalism and what it means to you? It might be some words. It might be bits of music, parables, metaphors that were powerful enough to change the way or shape the way you thought about something. Maybe it's the people. I think it's definitely, for me, the people. And as we think on those things that shape us, those things we remember, those things that we carry, I would invite us to think about the company we keep. And I would invite you to stand as you are willing and able and join us in singing this next hymn, "We Shall Be Known by the Company We Keep."
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive that deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
The type of technology changed, but something important stayed the same. We live not by things, but by the meaning of things. Nathan preached some months ago about what was the river and what was the riverbed in a faith. That the riverbed was the things that are foundational to the faith, and the river was the things that moved and flowed above. I would say that his riverbed is my mosaic. And before I go any further down the path of totally mixing metaphors until they are painfully interwrought, I will stop. But the metaphors are how we begin to understand things, and different metaphors speak for different people. I would say that we are our histories. We individuals, we community, we Unitarian Universalism, we are not only our histories, but we as a people, who we are is directly related to where we have come from. So at the greeters training we did a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how an idea of radical inclusion, checking our assumptions, doing the hard internal work of questioning why we think something and why we do some of the things that we do, and doing the even harder work of using our changed thinking to change how we respond and react and welcome the people who come to us. We talked about how that is eighth principle work. We talked about how it is Article 2 work, and yes, how that work is who we are and where we've been. It articulates out of our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and our second principle, justice and equity and compassion in human relationships. And both of those articulations come out of our Universalist and Unitarian heritage. Universalism, every person is whole and holy and loved for who they are. Unitarianism, human relationships, holy human relationships, must be grounded in justice. So our values are shaped by our history, and our history shapes our values. The river flows over the bedrock shapes the flow of the river, and the flow of the river, subtly and slowly, exposes more of the bedrock underneath. So here are a few statements excerpted from the Article 2 work, the proposed covenant for our congregations. Listen. Can you hear echoes of things that you have heard from this pulpit and seen lived out in this church? Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life. We covenant to learn from one another. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, our presence, and our resources. To use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. I clearly hear echoes in what I have heard in 35 years of Unitarian Universalist sermons from ministers across the country in churches large and small. I hear things like, what happens to one affects us all. The arc of the universe bends towards justice. Fear less, love more, for the love of all people. Our history shapes our values, and our values shape our history. I'd like to invite you to sit and sing right where you are. First service, I would like to invite the choir to come forward and sing this piece. And as they come forward, come on up and line up where you would be. And as they come forward, I would like you to consider how it is that your life, your testimony, shares with the world who we are, how our life as a congregation shares with the world who we are.
Testify.
So a couple of things also for you to know. April 23rd, we didn't announce this because I forgot to tell you to announce it, is Reverend Chris Long's installation. This will be the second installation that we have had in 2 years, and the third installation that we've had in 40 years. So it's a not thing that happens very often, especially not in this church. So I just wanted you to mark that. Also, if you wanted to know, First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin decided to grab our minister of congregational life to have him preach this Sunday. So he is abroad preaching the good word to Austin. We are going to collect the offering this morning. I think we announced last week, does everyone remember how much we gave to the food bank in December? $2,000, which is a collection, which means we brought in $4,000, which is numbers I have not heard of in my ministry here. Bearing in mind, this month we're going to share with Dialogues on Race. This is our last chance to give them a lot of money. You can clap for that too. The issue is, the good news is we have 5 Sundays, so we're going to have a little extra money. The bad news is the first Sunday was January 1st, and the last Sunday is apparently an entire year's worth of rain on a day. So we got to really, and online people, we're counting on this being a big online service today, so we need you to give a lot especially. So I'll ask you to give very generously as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received.
The history and legacy of Unitarian Universalism are shaped as much by Emerson, Foz, and Channing as it is by the ancestors in our congregations. We come to it through different avenues: the internet, an invitation, reading the Transcendentalists, or as babies or little kids. I came as a 4th grader to my congregation, the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am part of the connective tissue that holds the legacy and future of our faith. I am Church Across the Street, About Your Sexuality, Young Religious UUs, Youth Cons, Journey Towards Wellness, Groundwork, Continental UU Young Adult Network, The Mountain, and General Assembly Youth and Young Adult Caucus. We are the children of freedom fighters, visionaries, and radical liberal theologians. We are the phoenix rising out of the ashes of the McCarthy era and the civil rights, women's, and queer liberation movements. We are the survivors and beneficiaries of youth-led and youth-focused beliefs and programming that encouraged us to be change makers, boundary pushers, and institutionalists at the same time. We are and will be the ministers, religious educators, congregational presidents, organizers, and social change leaders our faith has led us to be. We wear our faith as tattoos on our bodies and in our hearts as testaments to the blood, tears, dreams, and inspirations of our community ancestors and elders.
Two of our three authors of our readings this morning were raised UU, and Lynn Cox was raised UCC, United Church of Christ, a Christian denomination that is so close in its values and theological orientation that they wrote and manage our whole lives with us as partners. They each came into Unitarian Universalism at different times, in their own ways, and through their ongoing experiences with Unitarian Universalism, their faith and their practice of their faith has grown and deepened and evolved and changed. I'm going to note, too, that I have now been around long enough that I know all three of those people. Worked with them, talked with them, miss them, as Alandria Williams has now passed and been with the ancestors. Part of being a history of a denomination is knowing and remembering all of the people who have been part of it, past and present. And as I listened to those Article 2 conversations online that I was telling you about, with people from all over the country, from different denominations and different congregations, different parts of the country, I heard not just the remembering, the bringing in of all that has been and is bringing us forward. I also heard a bit of nostalgia that had settled around certain parts of their faith and their practice of it. And I am not saying that what we remember, that what formed us, who mentored us, the words and the music and the people who shaped our ideas of Unitarian Universalism, I am not saying that those things are not important, because they are. What I am saying is that Unitarian Universalism is a living, growing, evolving, embodied faith. And as such, it must, and we must, also continue to evolve and grow and deepen and change. What nostalgia often does is cement us in a particular place in time, and the river needs to keep flowing over the bedrock. We need to keep growing and keep expanding and evolving so that what we are living, what we are learning, what we are teaching is vital and relevant and meets the needs of who we are now, who all of us are now. I'll tell you, one of the things that I heard was, what will the DREs teach the children if they can't memorize the principles? And I have to tell you, I have opinions. I had a response to that. So setting aside the idea that you can't teach Unitarian Universalism without the principles, which we know you can, and adding, for the record, that I am also really looking forward to crafting some powerfully good lessons around pluralism and interdependence, equity and transformation, justice, generosity, and right in the center of all of that is love. Setting that aside, my really strong reaction was, don't underestimate us. Not just don't underestimate religious educators, because while religious educators are among the smartest and the most creative people I know, Unitarian Universalism is taught and passed from generation to generation by so many more people than religious educators. No, it was this. It was, don't underestimate us. Unitarian Universalists, children, youth, RE teachers, DREs, ministers, congregations. We are not a set of words that we recite together. We are so much more. In the words of E's powerful testimonial, we are the connective tissue that holds the legacy and the future of our faith. We are and will be the people that our faith has led us to be. So if you want to transmit Unitarian Universalism from generation to generation, if you want to tell other people about what Unitarian Universalism is, be Unitarian Universalists. Be deep listeners. Be radically inclusive. Challenge your assumptions. Make good trouble. Partner with others. Center the voices of people who've been historically oppressed and on the margins. Live as if justice and generosity, compassion, and love are central to who you are, because it is not your words, but how you live, who you are, who we are collectively and individually. It is not your words, but how you live that will move this world just a little bit closer every day to the world we all deserve to live in. So may it be. Join me, rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. So friends, as you go out into this world, as you go out to live that life of Unitarian Universalism, know that you are held, know that you are loved. Go in peace. Go be the people that this world needs us all to be. Go in peace and know that you are loved.